Welcome back to State of the Union. I'm Jake Tapper. After more than a year, the January 6th Select House Committee will begin revealing their findings to the public with a series of hearings. It begins this Thursday in prime time. So how much does the committee know that we do not currently? Joining me now, a former Republican congressman who advised the January 6th committee for 8 months on the inside, former congressman, Republican congressman, Denver Riggleman. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be here.
So I understand there's a lot that you can't say because they're saving it for the committee, but there is some stuff you can tell us. For instance, what did Donald Trump know about the insurrection and when did he know it?
I think with some of the data that we've seen, that's what the committee is going to be able to reveal, right? And I know that a lot of individuals are worried about just the 6 hearings, but they're going to be very concise. I think they're actually going to be exciting when they compress that. But I believe when they do the bottom line up front, it's sort of the military saying when they do it at the front.
Bluff, yeah.
Yeah, the bluff, right? When they lay that out up front, I think people are going to be absolutely surprised how much was known with multiple groups. And I think that's what's going to be exciting to see the committee. There's some very talented investigators behind the doors. And even with our teams and things like that and what they found, but again, the investigators going through the thousands of interviews that they have and all the data and the videos, I do think they're going to be very successful in those 6 hearings.
And will there be anything resembling a smoking gun, something that proves that Donald Trump or somebody around him knew that what happened January 6th was not a spontaneous outcry by his supporters, but was a planned attempt to get them to stop counting the electoral votes?
I think when you look at the totality of the evidence, and some of these are my personal opinions, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the totality of the evidence, it's pretty apparent that at some points President Trump knew what was going on, obviously, right? I mean, if you're having meetings within the White House, if you're having individuals that you're paying out there, doing lawsuits, the 64, 65 lawsuits, if you're pushing this sort of like even on Twitter and social media, which is very important, which I think the committee is going to concentrate on, if you look at what's happening in the message that's being pushed by President Trump himself on social media and other individuals, you start to see this pipeline of information that's very damaging and is pushing things like Stop the Steal. So again, I think the committee is going to be able to wrap that up. And what I hope the American people do, and this is, listen, I had to give command briefings when I was an intelligence officer, and you're trying to get the general's attention. But also the American people have to look at this from the beginning, take their notes, and understand that the committee has to build the case in a very solid, facts-based way. There's not going to be a lot of partisan whining or screaming. The investigators behind the door are nonpartisan individuals. They're going to present this case in a very cogent way, but the American people need to take notes.
So it doesn't sound like you're saying there's a smoking gun other than the entire case will be a smoking gun, but no specific like we're coming to Washington on this day to overturn the election. Donald Trump signs off.
Well, that probably is going to be very difficult to even find based on the limited authorities of Congress as far as getting data and things like that. However, there's multiple groups involved, and I think that's what's exciting about the hearings is they're going to be able to put the multiple groups together. Remember, there's different investigative teams that were looking at different parts of this the whole time.
Right.
Then they've had to merge that, and that has been I think the biggest challenge for the committee is they didn't. I don't know if even and I've been in data before. I've never seen this much data. Right. It's absolutely incredible, and the fact is, if without the talent behind the door for the committee, I don't know if they could have parsed it.
So, do you think January 6th was an attempted coup? Your opinion, was this an attempted coup?
Personal opinion?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was an attempted
yes.
coup.
If you just go by the definition of coup in the dictionary, if you look at the groups that were involved, I just have a unique perspective because we can look at certain things.
By President Trump, just to be clear.
Yes. Attempted coup, I think, when you look at the people around him and the fact that there's awareness or they're talking about things that are, let's be honest, they're blatantly untrue. They're propaganda. And I've just had the good fortune, it's actually the awful fortune, of being involved with conspiracy theories. As you know, when we talked about this back 2019, 2020, I did this well before the committee was doing it. So I've been looking at this data for a long time. So it gives me probably a unique perspective that was even pre-committee on what we were seeing with disinformation. And I think that's a real threat, to the American. I think it's a real threat to America, but I also believe it's a real challenge to try to control those multiple media channels that are sort of mainlining this insanity into people's heads.
Your former Republican colleague, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who is the vice chair of this committee, she said this about the Republican Party airing this weekend. Take a listen.
We have too many people now in the Republican Party who are not taking their responsibility seriously and who have pledged their allegiance and loyalty to Donald Trump. It is contrary to everything conservatives believe to embrace a personality cult. And yet That is what so many in my party are doing today.
A personality cult. Do you agree with that characterization?
I do.
Too many Republicans, it's a personality cult, not a party.
It is. And, you know, I got to see that firsthand, as you know, with our team and the text messages. I got to see that firsthand.
Can I just ask you, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
but we're running out of time, and I want to ask you, you were a Republican congressman.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still consider yourself a Republican?
I think the party left me some time ago. I don't. And I think that's something that I've had to grapple with even behind the scenes. What I've seen behind the scenes has even pushed me further away, that the party has moved away from conservative principles to this cult of personality that Liz Cheney is talking about. She's absolutely correct. And when you see it behind the door, when you see the data, when you see the investigation, when you see those smart people and what they come up with, Jake, it's absolutely stunning, that cult of personality, but also the belief systems that I don't think any real conservative could follow at any point. It's absolutely insane what people have sort of put their arms around. And if you look at Stop the Steal, if you look at some of the COVID issues with the vaccination conspiracy theories, when you look at all the things in total, the fact is that a lot of that has been pushed by people around the president. It's been pushed by people who support the president. And seeing the actual words on paper through private types of things or through public types of things is absolutely shocking, and there's no way that I can continue in that vein.
All right. Former Republican and former Republican Congressman Denver Riggleman, thank you so much for being here. Good to see you.
Thank you, Jake.